Howdy folks, we're back on our F150 here. I got all the transmission fluid drained out and getting ready to put our new filter on. One thing I want to point out here that's really important is in this C4 you got this spring and you have this little valve right here. And you do not want to lose these. The way this valve goes is it goes just like this up inside the transmission underneath the valve body. It's right underneath your filter. Now if you do lose these, they do reproduce them, but best thing to do is not lose them. Now some of these C4s had this and some of them didn't. You take the spring here and it just sits up just like that. See that? So you want to make sure that the spring goes on this end just like that. Just like that. Then we're going to take it here and put it up inside our transmission here. Just wanted to point this out here because this is important, because some of these C4s had it and some didn't. I hope y'all can see this. I think it's going to be too dark. But, yep, it's going to be too dark. But there is a little spot where that filter goes. That this piece has to go up in there. Let's see if I got a flashlight here, because I want to show you all that. That's important. Okay, good. Got a flashlight here. So what you want to do, and I can't find any videos on YouTube of this, and if it is, they don't show it very well. I tried to look in like rebuilding a C4 and all that kind of stuff and couldn't find nothing. So anyway, here it is. It is right here. Okay. Let's see. See if you can get a good view of that. Alright, so your filter goes right in here. I apologize for this being dark. So there's your back of your transmission. There's your transmission mount. It's back in there. And for it, it's a little hole right here. And what you do is you take this end and this end right here has to go up. There you go. This end and this spring has to go up in that little hole, just like this. I'll show y'all. Just like this. Yeah, it's got that little hole in it. It's not really a hole, but it's a little cup thing. So that this end goes up first. So we'll put that on up. I apologize for the lighting, it's terrible. But it has to go in that hole in that C4. Then you can put your filter on. And you want to make sure it's clear too. Ours is clear. It looks terrible on camera, but anyway, we're going to get that up in there. Now some of these C4s had this hole and some of them didn't. Just one of them things. So we'll get that on up in here. That way y'all can see it. And from what I was reading, is this has to be in here. Otherwise it won't shift. That's something you definitely don't want. And you got to be a little careful when you're taking this piece out here, because what happened to me, I didn't know it was a springer, and long story short, I almost lost that little piece in that little spring. I think it's the correct name for it is a throttle position valve. I think it's what it's called. That is the correct name for it. But I did not realize that this one had it. I've never seen it on a C4, matter of fact. It's hard to do because you got to hold the filter up. When you put that spring in there, it actually sticks out a little bit. So you're actually, when you put the filter on, it's compressing against the filter. That little valve has to be there. Okay, so we got our filter started anyway. Okay, so this little notch here, what I was doing, I apologize for the video being so dark. I took my hand there and pushed the filter up, and we got one of our bolts started back here. That way it holds everything in. See, some of these, some of these filters don't have this, and some of them do. This one happened to have it. But this is really important here. I wanted to point that out. So we got that all installed now. Now we'll get the rest of our bolts in. And we'll get our pan back on. And then one thing you want to do too is you want to make sure and use type F transmission fluid. Because what I was reading online, and somebody had told me that you're supposed to use type F anyway. You don't want to mix it with like Dextron 2 or 3. Well, now it's like 5, but because this truck takes Dextron 2 or 3. From what I've been told, supposedly you can run like 4 in it, but I don't know. I always make sure when I buy transmission fluid that it says it's for Dextron 2 or 3, but this truck takes type F. And what I've been told, you don't want to take Dextron and put it in this because it might slip, supposedly. So we're going to put type F in it. But we're getting it along here. We're getting there. We'll get that transmission back together, get our pan on it, and finish up our filter there. Then I'm going to fill it back up, put about maybe 2-3 quarts in it. Then we'll take and run this thing just a little bit. I might take that thermostat out and fill it up with water. If I could get a water hose and fill it up, then we could run a little longer. But it's only Wednesday, and Friday when I get paid, if I have the money, I'm going to try and get a radiator for this truck. I want to get a radiator for it, that way I can really get it going. I see one thing we will have to do. We'll have to get a radiator hose for our upper water neck there. We got our bottom. This video is dark. I apologize for that. Wish it wouldn't be so dark. I want to point that out on that filter there because that's pretty important there. Because I actually took that filter off, and when I was taking it off, I didn't even see it come out. Because when I took the filter off, I got lucky on it, and I had the filter like halfway off, and the spring and all that fell between the filter and the bottom of the valve body. And I thought at first, because it scared me at first, because when I pulled the filter off the rest of the way, that spring and that little tiny valve fell in my hand. And I was worried that something done fell out at the inside of that transmission. I was thinking the worst case, scenario. I was like worried about that. because I really don't want to. I mean, I'm already going to have to, eventually I am going to have to put a motor in, or either I'll pull that one out and rebuild it. But I really didn't want to have to do a transmission too, because that's even more money. But I researched that online, and we're good to go. There's nothing to worry about. It's supposed to have that up in there anyway. And when I was reading, it's what shifts from second to third.